According to a 2021 survey by Syracuse University's Institute for Veterans and Military Families, 53% of respondents said that education benefits were the primary reason they joined the military. Other reasons included a desire to serve one country and longing for adventure. The U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs estimates that 900,000 veterans and dependents use their education benefits each year. This means that many of the participants will be aware that they are afforded education benefits, but active duty may need help remembering what is available as they seek advancement. We will review a few options available to active duty and veterans, and we'll close this module with discussing options for dependents. The earliest opportunity for the military education benefits to happen is with the ROTC program, or the Reserve Officer Training Corps. This program must be pursued as they begin their college studies and is engaged while in college. There is a ROTC program or similar in every branch of the military. The Coast Guard has a similar program called the College Student Pre-Commissioning Initiative, and those joining the Space Force will access the Air Force ROTC. The programs are accessible at over 1,700 colleges and universities and are highly competitive. The amount of money received will depend on the branch, the school, and the degree program. In addition to their regular college curriculum, those in ROTC also complete military courses and activities specific to their branch. They also have a unique opportunity to spend time implanted with Active Duty Command during summer training programs for a few weeks. The ROTC program requires mandatory active service in the branch facilitating the program. Entry to this service will be as a commissioned officer. If a participant is considering military service at a young age during your mentorship, this might be a topic to consider. Post-graduation, both the Air Force Reserve and Army offer student loan repayment programs for highly qualified applicants entering either branch. Guidance for these programs will be researched, but with the branch. Once in the military, tuition assistance, or TA, is a financial aid facilitated by the DoD and is therefore only open to active duty members. This program covers the cost of tuition for active duty members when engaged outside of duty hours. It can cover up to 100% of the tuition for courses up to $4,500 a year for undergraduate and graduate programs, technical or vocational programs, distant learning and independent studies at regionally or nationally accredited schools. Each branch will have its own application process. It is recommended that the service members seek approval for enrolling in TA before utilizing the post 9/11 or Montgomery GI Bill, which we will be discussing next. Your mentorship can be valuable in helping the participant understand their personal and professional commitments and how those will play into time available for school. Do time sacrifices need to be made in order to properly be prepared for the requirements of coursework? This is important to understand, as repayment is required in a limited number of circumstances, including quitting or failing the course. As mentioned, the Air Force Reserve and Army offer student loan repayment programs for highly qualified applicants entering either branch. Guidance for these programs will need to be researched with the branch. The important factor to consider when engaging the Air Force Reserve program is that the GI Bill will be retracted unless they re-enlist for another 3 years at a minimum. Other branches may have their own repayment programs. The participant will need to inquire with their specific branch. If the active duty service member does seek private student loans, the Service Member Civil Relief Act, SCRA, will cap the interest rate at 6% while they are on active duty. For those in active service, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness, PSLF, applies. This means that 10 years of active duty service will qualify to discharge the qualifying loans. Outside of active service, it's always a recommendation to seek income-driven repayments that are currently offered. Specific guidance can be provided by recommending the participant contact the nonprofit TISLA, TISLA, found in resources. Deferment or forbearance of a student loan can be made due to active duty, deployment, or other qualifying circumstances. Both military deferments and forbearance count towards PSLF at this time. The military deferment can be beneficial for those who anticipate completing the PSLF and are active during a war, those transitioning out of the active service, and those in the National Guard called to duty. There are 2 categories of educational programs offered by the Veterans Administration, or VA. The post 9/11 GI Bill is one, and the Montgomery GI Bill is the other. Members have the opportunity to choose one program or the other. They cannot partially combine them. The 2 programs differ primarily in eligibility, benefits, and scope. The post 9/11 GI Bill, introduced after 2001, offers more generous education benefits, including full tuition coverage at public universities, a housing allowance for veterans, and a stipend for books. It also allows benefits to be transferred to dependents during active duty service. The Montgomery GI Bill, created earlier in the 1980s, requires service members to pay into the program and offers a fixed monthly stipend for education, but without the same level of coverage or flexibility as the post 9/11 bill. It is likely you will find that the post 9/11 GI Bill is what participants will have. As such, let's review it in a little bit more detail. Typically, 3 years of active duty service is required in order to be eligible to receive this benefit. The benefit pays the full cost of tuition and fees for public or state schools. The rates for private and foreign schools are capped. It also includes the cost of books and other supplies. If the member is no longer active duty, they will also receive a housing stipend every month when they are enrolled greater than half-time with in-person classes. For veterans, the housing stipend can support a reduction in work income to allot an educational advancement. The post 9/11 GI Bill is quite generous in the types of education the participant can pursue. The tuition and its associated allowances are considered tax-free income, from traditional degrees to trade or vocational schools and co-op training. This program is meant to fully support the military member in pursuit of education that supports their intended career advancement, whether that's with the military or in a civilian capacity. The participant can pursue education at any nationally accredited school. For those schools who fall outside the network of coverage, such as higher cost private schools, foreign institutions, and some graduate tuitions, the Yellow Ribbon Program was instituted. It is a voluntary agreement between the school and the Department of Veterans Affairs to help cover the tuition and/or fees that exceed the post 9/11 GI Bill's maximum coverage amount. Schools agree to contribute a certain amount, which differs by school or program, and the VA matches it up to 50% of the difference. This can significantly reduce what the participant may have to pay out of pocket. Further, the post 9/11 GI Bill provides funds for books and other supplies. The participant receives these funds at the beginning of the enrollment period. The amount does not exceed $1,000 a year for a full-time student. The housing allowance is provided for veterans as a way to support the potential decrease in income that happens when pursuing higher education at a greater than part-time commitment. The stipend needs to be used as supplemental income and worked into the budget strategically and carefully because it does lack year-round consistency. The funds do not need to be paid back if a class has failed, but they do need to be paid back if they withdraw from a class. The housing stipend is calculated using the zip code of the school or campus they are attending, enrollment status of the in-person courses at about a E5 rate. In order to receive the full housing stipend, they must be attending in-person courses greater than part-time. Online classes are calculated at a reduced rate. The stipend is not received during school breaks, such as summer. Again, due to the inconsistency of the amount and frequency of the stipend, it is very important to strategically consider its addition to the budget. There are only a few scenarios in which these funds would need to be repaid. This includes receiving an unofficial withdrawal due to a non-attendance and voluntarily withdrawing after the payment has been processed for reasons within control. The post 9/11 GI Bill also has a generous course completion policy. They consider failure of a course progress in the overall educational journey. Failing a course does not require repayment, but does count against the total funds available through the benefit. The program also understands that life happens. If a participant has to withdraw from a class due to circumstances beyond their control, they are not required to repay the course funds. Again, it will be deducted from their total benefits. There are ways to help ensure they receive as close to the max of benefits available in the post 9/11 GI Bill. In today's digital landscape, it is perfectly reasonable for a participant to want to pursue the coursework online. In fact, there are some schools that only offer an online experience. If the institution does offer in-person courses, they can consider taking at least one class per semester in person to access the housing allowance stipend. If the participant has a long educational plan that includes graduate degrees, it could be wise to consider starting the journey at an affordable community college. This way, they could pay the affordable community college tuition out of pocket and save their benefits for the more expensive classes later on. This would allow them to maximize their funds available for the most expensive degrees pursued, saving them the most money in the long run. Another key feature to remember is that while the housing allowance is paid out per month, it is determined by the number of course credits, not the number of months in the semester. In order to take advantage of receiving 100% of the housing allowance, the number of credits must be attended. For undergraduates, 12 or more credits is considered full-time, whereas a graduate degree only requires 9 or more credits. If there are other educational benefits available, use them first. This might include using TA, tuition assistance first, as we mentioned, or vocational rehabilitation and employment, which we will discuss a little bit later. The Participant also has the unique opportunity to apply for military training and occupations for credits. A military transcript is a valuable record of the veteran's training, education, and experience. It provides documented evidence for potential academic credit with higher learning institutions and proof of experience for employers. All branches except the Space Force use the Joint Services Transcript Portal to document formal training and occupations that have been reviewed by the American Council of Education. It's also very important to protect these benefits and ensure the school or institution is accredited and not considered predatory. The VA has a GI Bill comparison tool to search approved schools. And lastly, anyone applying for the higher education should consider completing the FAFSA. If the post 9/11 GI Bill covers all of the educational costs, the additional funding awarded through the completion of the FAFSA can be used for other expenses. Another benefit that is often referred to as Chapter 31 is vocational readiness and employment. It is accessible to those with a service-connected disability, a VA rating of 10% or more, that prevents or limits their ability to work. It provides help with job training, education, employment accommodations, resume development, and job-seeking skills coaching. It may also apply to help start businesses. While this benefit is generally maxed out at 48 months, veterans with disabilities may petition for extended time, as well as qualify for additional resources and services. The participant will complete an application and conduct an initial evaluation with a vocational rehabilitation counselor to determine eligibility of benefits and services. The military member can also elect to transfer their benefits of the post 9/11 GI Bill to their dependents. They could partially use the benefits and transfer the remaining, or transfer up to 36 months in total. They could choose to transfer to one dependent, such as a spouse, or all dependents, such as splitting between children and spouse or children. The Montgomery GI Bill does not typically offer this same option. Dependents can also take advantage of state-specific and school-specific benefits. These include in-state tuition rates at state schools, regardless of residency, for active duty dependents and other financial aid to reduce cost. There are scholarships available for military dependents as well. Some are specific to the branch or even command, while others are wide-arching. Platforms like MyScholarly, which is now part of SallyPack, and scholarships.com, help to easily sort through hundreds of scholarships to drill down to those that apply to you in all aspects of life, from gender, state, major, or even whether or not an essay is involved. There may be state-specific benefits that apply to veterans as well. The participant will need to research their state for eligibility and offerings. The Vocational Readiness and Employment Program is also not available to dependents. Similar to this is Chapter 36, known as the Personalized Career Planning and Guidance Program. It provides similar benefits in career pursuit and educational endeavors. Specific to dependents are the Frye Scholarship, DEA, and MICA. The Frye Scholarship and DEA apply to those dependents whose spouse or active duty member, if it's a child, died in the line of military service. MICA, or My Career Advancement Account, is a limited program offered to active duty spouses for higher education. Those whose spouses rank E1 to O2 are eligible to apply. The higher ranking enlisted and officers are last in line to be considered for the available funding. The program is listed to the first 1,250 who qualify with an application. They can receive up to $2,000 a year to apply towards their educational pursuit.